Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be tuning into the symphony. The symphony that's happening inside our heads. Those electrical pulses we call brainwaves.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating how these tiny electrical signals, right, orchestrate, everything from our sleep cycles to like our deepest thoughts, emotions, and even physical healing.
Yeah, exactly. You probably already know about the usual suspects. Beta, alpha, theta, delta. But get this:
Right.
there's a whole expanded spectrum of brainwave frequencies, and even these borderline states, right,
Right.
where frequencies overlap.
Yeah, these borderline states are like the transitions between musical notes, right? So they
Hmm.
create these unique states of consciousness that blend the characteristics of the neighboring frequencies. Like think about the flow state, right? That feeling of being completely absorbed in an activity where like time seems to just fly by.
Oh yeah, I've definitely experienced that. Like when I'm writing and the words just kind of flow effortlessly.
Yeah.
So that linked to a specific mix of brainwaves then.
Exactly. And we're going to explore how each frequency and these fascinating borderline states impact our mental, emotional, and even physical well-being.
Okay, so let's start with the basics then. The big four brainwave states. What's happening in our brains when we're in each of those?
Well, so beta is our everyday task-oriented frequency, typically ranging from 13 to 38 hertz. But even within beta, right, there are variations. Low beta, around 12, 15 hertz, is associated with, relaxed focus, like when you're calmly working on a project. Mid beta, from about 16, 20 hertz, is more about, active thinking and problem solving. And then you have high beta, 21 hertz and up, which kicks in when we're like under stress or require intense concentration.
So that feeling of being like wired and a little on edge, is that high beta doing its thing?
It could be. High beta is also the frequency of like excitement and high performance, so it kind of depends on the context and the accompanying emotions.
Got it. So how do we shift from that busy beta state into something a little more relaxed, like alpha?
Yeah, so alpha is where things start to get kind of interesting. This frequency, generally between 8 and 12 hertz, emerges when we close our eyes, relax, and daydream. It's a state of calm focus, associated with creativity and a more holistic way of processing information.
Okay. I've heard alpha described as being linked to holographic vision. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so imagine shifting your perception from a narrow spotlight to like a wide-angle lens. Instead of focusing on a single point like beta, alpha allows you to kind of take in the bigger picture, to see those connections and patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed. It's a state where those aha moments of insight often occur.
It's like your brain is suddenly able to see the forest instead of just the trees.
Exactly. And there are different types of alpha. So sleeping alpha is what you experience as you drift off, that hazy in-between state. Waking alpha is that daydreamy state where your mind wanders. And then there's awakening alpha, right? Cultivated through meditation, where you're fully present, but with a sense of calm detachment.
So it's like alpha has multiple gears for relaxation and insight.
Precisely. And as we descend further down the frequency spectrum, we enter the realm of theta.
Okay, theta. So that's the dream state, right? But I've read it's also linked to like deep emotional processing and even healing.
Yeah, you're right. Theta, typically between 4 to 7 hertz, is where our brains process emotions, consolidate memories, and tap into, like, the subconscious mind. It's a state where logic kind of takes a back seat and intuition and creativity come to the forefront. Many therapeutic modalities, like hypnotherapy and guided imagery, work by inducing theta to facilitate, deep inner work.
So it's like accessing a hidden control panel for our emotions and beliefs.
You could say that. It's in theta where we can reprogram our subconscious mind, with positive affirmations and release limiting beliefs. It's also crucial for memory consolidation, especially during non-REM sleep. That's why studying before bed can be so effective.
Okay. So we've got beta for focused action, alpha for relaxed awareness, and theta for emotional processing and subconscious exploration. What about delta? That's deep sleep territory, right?
That's right. Delta, ranging from 0.5 to 4 hertz, is the slowest brainwave frequency we've discussed so far. It's essential for deep restorative sleep where our bodies and minds repair and rejuvenate.
So like while we're out cold, our brains are actually hard at work healing us.
Exactly. And what's even more fascinating is that delta sleep isn't just one homogeneous state. There are actually 3 stages of delta.
Wait, 3 stages of delta? I thought it was just one big sleep fest.
Well, it's a relatively recent discovery that, sheds light on the complexity of deep sleep. So in Delta 1, the deepest level, our bodies focus on like primal functions, temperature regulation, heart rate, and basic cellular repair. It's like rebooting your system.
Okay, so Delta 1 is like making sure the essential foundations are running smoothly. What about Delta 2?
Delta 2 is where the focus shifts to our organs, glands, and energy systems. It's a more nuanced level of healing, fine-tuning the internal environment for optimal function. Think of it as like optimizing the internal software.
So it's like running a system diagnostics check and making sure everything's running efficiently. What's happening in Delta 3, then?
Delta 3 focuses on the more superficial, yet still vital aspects of physical healing: skin regeneration, muscle recovery, and those, everyday aches and pains. It's like giving your body a final polish.
So Delta 3 is like the final touches, taking care of the wear and tear of daily life. It's amazing to think that all this is happening while we're sound asleep.
It really is. And this understanding of the different delta stages highlights how crucial deep sleep is for overall health and well-being.
Yeah, it makes you realize how much we might be sacrificing when we, skimp on sleep. I'm definitely going to prioritize it more. But hold on. You mentioned earlier that there are even slower brain waves than Delta. Tell me more about these Epsilon waves.
Yeah, so Epsilon waves are a fascinating discovery. They occur below zero point 0.5 hertz, a realm so slow it was almost undetectable with older EEG technology. It's a state of profound stillness, deeper than even the deepest sleep, where the boundaries between self and others seem to dissolve.
Wow, it sounds like a state of pure bliss and connectedness.
Yeah, it's a state that many mystics and spiritual traditions have described, but now we're beginning to understand it from a more scientific perspective. Epsilon is associated with experiences of unity consciousness, a sense of oneness with everything.
So it's like tapping into a universal frequency that connects us all.
In a way, yes. It suggests there might be even slower, more subtle frequencies waiting to be discovered.
This is mind-blowing. We've gone from everyday beta to this profound Epsilon state. But how do we intentionally access these different states, especially those that seem so elusive?
Well, that's where things get really exciting, and that's what we'll delve into next. There are ways to use sound and specific techniques to, influence our brainwave activity and explore the potential that lies within each state.
I can't wait to hear more about that. Stay tuned as we continue our deep dive into the world of brainwaves.
Welcome back to our exploration of the Brainwave Symphony.
In the last part, we journeyed through the different brainwave frequencies and their fascinating effects on, our mental, emotional, and physical states.
Yeah.
And, now I'm really curious to know how we can actually tap into these states intentionally. Is it possible to, shift our brainwaves on demand?
Yeah, it's a question that has, intrigued researchers and practitioners for decades. And the answer is a resounding yes. We can use sound and specific techniques to gently nudge our brainwave activity in the desired direction.
Okay, so we can actually use sound to, shape our state of mind. How does it work?
Well, one of the most intriguing methods is using binaural beats. It involves listening to two slightly different tones, one in each ear. Your brain then creates a third phantom tone, which is the difference between the two frequencies. This third tone, the binaural beat, can subtly guide your brain waves to match its frequency.
Okay, so if I want to relax and tap into those alpha waves, I would listen to binaural beats in the alpha frequency range.
That's right. There's growing evidence suggesting that binaural beats can be an effective way to, induce specific brainwave states. Think of it like giving your brain a gentle nudge towards a desired state.
But doesn't listening to two different tones in each ear sound kind of strange? I imagine it could be distracting.
Yeah, it might seem unusual at first, but the binaural beats themselves are usually quite subtle and often embedded within relaxing music or nature sounds.
That makes sense. I've heard there's a lot of variation in the quality of binaural beat recordings. What should people look for when choosing one?
Yeah, that's an important point. The expertise of the producer and the method used to create the binaural beats can significantly impact their effectiveness. Some recordings use simple sine waves, which can be effective but sometimes harsh on the ears.
So what's a better alternative to those simple sine waves?
Well, some producers use more sophisticated methods, like incorporating binaural beats into the harmonics of instrument sounds. This creates a more immersive and multi-layered listening experience.
I remember reading about a patented method developed by Dr. Thompson. He uses untuned harmonics of instruments to create binaural beats. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, Dr. Thompson's method is quite innovative. Instead of layering separate tones on top of music, he subtly detunes the harmonics of instruments like flutes, guitars, and drums to create the binaural beats. This makes the experience more seamless and enjoyable.
So the binaural beats are woven into the music itself.
Precisely. This approach not only creates a more natural and holistic experience, but it's also gentler on the ears.
That sounds much more appealing. So are there other ways to influence our brainwave states besides binaural beats?
Absolutely. Various techniques and practices can shift our brainwave activity. Meditation, for example, has been practiced for centuries to induce calming alpha and theta states.
Yeah, it seems almost intuitive that, like, focusing on your breath and quieting your mind would lead to slower brainwave patterns.
It is, and science is catching up to what, ancient traditions have known for ages. Then there's biofeedback, a fascinating tool that allows you to monitor your brainwaves in real time.
So biofeedback is like having a mirror for your mind, showing you what's happening beneath the surface.
Exactly. It provides feedback on your brainwave activity, allowing you to see how your thoughts, emotions, and even your breathing affect your brainwave patterns.
That sounds incredibly empowering. So with biofeedback, you can actually learn to control your brainwaves.
With practice, yes, biofeedback can be used to train your brain to shift into, desired states like relaxation, focus, or even to manage chronic pain.
That's remarkable. I'm also curious about another technology you mentioned earlier, biotuning. How does that work? And how is it different from biofeedback?
Yeah, so biotuning is a fascinating approach that utilizes heart rate variability, the subtle variations in time between heartbeats, to pinpoint specific brainwave frequencies that can promote healing.
So instead of using generic frequencies, biotuning finds the frequencies that resonate with your unique physiology.
Exactly. It's like creating a personalized sound healing prescription based on your body's inherent wisdom. By analyzing your heart rate variability patterns, biotuning can identify the exact frequencies that can help bring your system back into balance.
That's incredible. So biotuning uses sound to target specific imbalances in the nervous system.
Precisely. It's like fine-tuning a musical instrument to achieve perfect harmony.
This is all so fascinating. It seems like there's so many possibilities for using sound and technology to enhance our well-being. But we haven't talked much about those borderline states where our frequencies overlap. Can we intentionally access those as well?
That's a great question, and one we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned as we uncover the unique experiences offered by these intriguing borderline brainwave states.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring this incredible world of brain waves, those electrical pulses that shape our experiences.
Right, we've covered the different frequencies, from the active beta to the deeply restorative delta, and even touched upon the profound epsilon.
Yeah, and we've discussed some amazing ways we can use sound and technology to influence our, brainwave activity.
Now, as promised, let's dive into those intriguing borderline states where brainwave frequencies overlap.
These borderline states sound like uncharted territory. What makes them so special?
Well, think of them as bridges between two distinct brainwave states, right? They kind of blend their characteristics to create unique experiences and capabilities.
Okay, can you give us an example of a borderline state and what kind of experience it might produce?
Sure. Let's take the state between, alpha and theta, often called the twilight state. It's that hazy zone as you're drifting off to sleep or waking up where you're relaxed, yet receptive to information. This state is often associated with, enhanced creativity and vivid imagery.
Oh, yeah. I think I've experienced that before. It's like when you're lying in bed just about to fall asleep and suddenly you have a brilliant idea or a flash of inspiration.
Precisely. That's the alpha-theta borderline state at work. It's a sweet spot for accessing our deeper creativity and intuition, those insights that often elude us when we're, fully awake or deeply asleep.
So it's like our minds are more open to those creative downloads when they're hovering between those two frequencies.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. The relaxed focus of alpha combined with the, dreamlike receptivity of theta creates a fertile ground for new ideas to emerge.
Are there other borderline states that are particularly noteworthy?
Absolutely. The borderline between beta and gamma is another fascinating one. It's a state of heightened awareness and focus where we can process information rapidly and make connections we might otherwise miss.
So it's like our mental processing power gets a supercharge.
You could say that it's a high-performance state, often experienced by athletes, musicians, or anyone who needs to, operate at their peak.
Yeah, I could see how that would be valuable in so many situations, from giving a presentation to playing a musical instrument.
And the exciting thing is that we can train our brains to access these borderline states more easily through, practice and specific techniques.
So how do we do that? Can we use those sound therapies we discussed earlier, like binaural beats, to target these borderline frequencies?
Absolutely. Binaural beats can be designed to gently guide the brain towards those borderline zones, encouraging the desired blend of brainwave activity.
Okay, so if I wanted to access that alpha-theta twilight state for, like, enhanced creativity.
Yeah,
I could listen to binaural beats that gradually shift from the alpha to the theta range.
exactly. There are, many recordings available that are specifically designed to induce those borderline states, whether for creativity, relaxation, focus, or other benefits.
It's incredible to think we have this ability to, like, fine-tune our mental states.
It really is. And the more we understand about these borderline states, the more we can unlock our potential.
What about those slower borderline states, like the one between delta and epsilon? What kind of experiences might those produce?
That's where things get really interesting, and honestly, we're still exploring those deeper realms. The borderline between delta and epsilon is a state of profound stillness, where the boundaries between self and other begin to dissolve.
It sounds almost mystical.
It can be a deeply transformative experience, a state where individuals report profound insights into the nature of reality and their place within it.
Wow, that's mind-expanding. How do we access those deeper borderline states? Is it simply a matter of slowing down our brain waves even further through, like meditation or sound therapies?
It's often more nuanced than that. Accessing those deeper states often requires years of dedicated practice, inner work, and sometimes the guidance of experienced teachers. It's a journey of self-discovery, and it's not a path for everyone.
So it's like climbing a mountain. It takes preparation, commitment, and the right guide to reach those, higher peaks.
That's a great analogy. And just like mountain climbing, the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Well, I think we've reached the summit of our deep dive into the world of brainwaves. We've explored the frequencies, the effects, and the, amazing ways we can influence these states to enhance our lives.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure exploring this fascinating landscape with you.
I hope our listeners are feeling inspired to explore their own inner symphonies and discover the incredible potential that lies within their own minds.
The brain truly is a remarkable frontier, and we're only beginning to grasp its extraordinary capabilities.
So, dear listener, what will you do with this newfound knowledge? Will you use it to improve your sleep, boost your creativity, or perhaps even embark on a journey to explore those deeper states of consciousness? The possibilities are truly endless. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.